strategic initiatives, efficient processes to guide the strategies, talent and teams. All these terminologies and jargons are there in the air all around in the corporate. And these are normally used in the organizational transformation processes. So in the next 1 hour, our distinguished panelists, each a thought leader in their respective field, will unreveal the intricacies of organizational transformation, from aligning its strategy with execution to fostering innovation and adaptability. We delve into the core principles of OT, or organizational transformation. Together, we aim to uncover actionable insights during these discussions, drawing from the real world scenarios which all our esteemed panelists are already working on. This discussion, I'm sure, is promising to be a compass for those who are seeking clarity in the transformative steps, ultimately steering the organizations towards sustained success in an ever-evolving business landscape. So with this promise, before going ahead, let me introduce my panelists. And today, my first panelist is Nilima Chakra. She is an executive coach, gold tier facilitator, and founder of Purpose Ladder. She worked with a client globally to help ambitious, action-oriented professionals to establish themselves as leaders and be visible, valued, and rewarded in their careers. So she is developing the leaders to the global clients. Before becoming a coach, she served 23 plus years in the finance, service delivery management, project management, and strategy, working with global organizations like EY, GDS, Infosys, KPMG. And now today, her clientele as a coach includes the global market leaders like Google, Microsoft, Dell, BCG, Accenture, Indian Oil Corporation, Hitachi Energy. So she has worked with all these clienteles. Welcome, Nilima. And in addition to being a coach, she serves on the board of a non-profit organization also. So socially also, she is very active, helping the social cause. And my second panelist is my fellow PMI South Asia champion, is Monica Mudamseti. She is the Director, National Game Technology. And Monica is a seasoned leader in delivery and agile space, dealing with people and processes to deliver improved outcomes across the projects, programs, and portfolios, along with driving the transformation in their organizations. She has served as a director on board of PMI Pearl City, Hyderabad for approximately 5 years, and currently volunteering, as I told, with me as a PMI South Asia champion. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Monica. And my third panelist is Dr. Rajdeep Dev, who is a startup curator, education technology integrator. He's a thought leader in the TVT space in India and has been certified by international engineer as an international engineering educator. Presently, he is the Dean of School of Entrepreneurship Skills Education, Bharatiya Skill Development University, Jaipur. Welcome, Dr. Dev. And this live session and all this is a brainchild of Dr. Dev. Welcome, Dr. Dev.
Thank you, Kailash. Nothing like this. With your support only, we are able to achieve all those things. And of course, with our
it's always collaboration, Ravi. It's always collaboration. We work together. So before going forward and on the organizational transformation, there are two parts normally what we see the strategy side and the people side. So if we talk about people side, we cannot take your peoples with the strategy so that they really start living your strategy. You have to have that sort of the people and understanding the strategy, integrating it into the day-to-day behavior, and really making decisions according to the responsibility. Then your strategy is, you can call it a successful strategy. And taking people along, there has to be one answer. One have to answer the question, and that question is why. It's a very important question in organizational transformation is why. When we talk about organizational transformation, very first question comes into the mind, why to transform? This will come to the mind of everybody who is there in the organization. So my first question is to Nilima. Nilima, will you answer this question? Nilima, are you there? Hello. I think we are not able to hear you, Nilima. Okay, by the time Nilima's audio is fixed, let me go to Monica. Monica, let me repeat this question to you. When we talk about organizational transformation, the very first question that comes into the mind is why to transform, and then how we can align the transformation objective with the business strategy. This is my question to you first, Monica.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So what I feel is that, there's one saying which we all have been hearing,
Yeah.
what got you here may not be enough to get you ahead. And I think that's very true, especially for organization transformation, because in today's world, when there are so many dynamic things happening, the dynamic market demands, such the changing customer needs, technology is evolving, and so many things are happening. To remain competitive and successful, organizations have to adapt to all these changes. And that's only possible when they start focusing on getting better, continuous improvement, innovation, efficiencies, and all of that. So that is why organizations have to transform. But how can we do that is a whole new strategy, right? And how can the transformation align to business strategy is again a whole new story.
Correct, correct. Rajdeep, do you have anything to say on this?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Kailash. I appreciate the opportunity to share my insights on these very important topics of organizational change management. And to start with, why the organizational transformations. Believe me, it's not a choice, rather it is a necessity. I would like to take, few contextual examples. Let's look at the, 21st century's market trend. So in this dynamic business landscape, you can see that transformation is happening everywhere. And it's not that the organizations are not part of it. Take example of the trending, e-commerce business. So if you look at the transformations, for those businesses, because of the surge in e-commerce, you just look at those brick and mortar industry, the retail industry, the brick and mortar
Yes.
store. So for them, transformation is not just that they want to transform in their operations, just to deal with those e-commerce business. It's for them. It's to stay relevant. If
Yes.
they transform, they will become obsolete because they will not able to compete with the e-commerce. And now we are moving from e-commerce to a quick commerce. Take example of Blinkit. Delivery in minutes. Who knows, a time ahead they could, claim the delivery in seconds. So if those brick and mortar businesses, if they don't transform, it is for them the survival. So coming
Yeah,
to
exactly.
trend, I would go to the technology. Now look at the technological transformations. The way operation of most of the business going to cloud, you know, if they don't adapt, if they don't embrace those changes in technology, it is very difficult. The survival questions will come first. So navigating those changes in trend in the market or be it in the technology, it is
Uh,
very much.
Rajiv, Rajiv, just sorry to interrupt. Can you take Nilima in? Actually, she is raising hand. She is not able to join. So
Yeah,
she is joined as a attendee. Can you take her in?
yes, she is very much in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. Yes,
No, it's
Go
all
ahead,
right.
Rajiv.
It's all
Yeah.
right. So just to summarize all those aspects, be it the trend in the business or the technology that transformation we are talking about, or you just take at the regulatory aspects, if you are
Mm-hmm.
not going to transform all those things, be it trend, be it technology or the regulatory or changes that are happening around us, are going to kill your organizations. So why
Correct.
is basically, for their survival, for their improvement, for their transformation. I hope I was
Mm-hmm.
able to
Correct.
clear your.
Yes. You are
Yeah.
clear.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Nilima, am I audible to you?
Yes, you are audible, Kailash.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. You can hear me now?
So, Nilima, you are clear. You are absolutely clear. So, we were talking about the first question, and that question we was in organizational transformation, why to transform, and how we can align the transformation objectives with the business strategy. This was a question we were discussing about. Do you have any thought on that?
Uh, well, I would say that a transformation has to be actually led by the business strategy. There has to be a strategic objective that we want to achieve, and therefore we decide to undertake a transformation, right? And that objective could be driven by appealing to the changing market or taking care of the regulatory requirements, as Dr. Deb just said, or it could be the technology transformation. But there is always that strategic need at the heart of why the transformation begins. So
Correct.
the reason is the business requirement to survive, to stay ahead of the curve, and to meet those business needs is why somebody would, any organization would want to embark on a transformational initiative.
Yes. It's very well said, Nilima. So
Um,
Nilima, let's move to the second question, and the second question is
Kailash,
just
sorry to
related to this
interrupt.
only. Yeah.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Kailash,
please.
sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I would just
please
like
go
to
ahead.
add my 2 cents to the second
Yeah,
part of your question, right? Which you said about
yeah.
how can we align transformation
Align
with
the
the strategy.
transformation. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
I really liked what Dr. Rajdeep said, right? Because there are so many things that you will have to look into what needs to be transformed. The process, technology, structure, maybe culture. So I think it's also very important to understand what is it that you want to transform on, because you cannot focus on multiple things. There has to be a single driving factor. And then once you identify that, then understand where you are and where you want to go, because otherwise it will be a multiple directional transformation, and that can get extremely complex, and the probability of success also quite dips. So identify which is the direction needed for the transformation. What is the priority? Understand where you are, where you want to go, and then also understand what success will look like if you get there, so that people can visualize in terms of clear objectives or behaviors what the transformation look like down the lane. And then you need to
correct.
also ensure that you are engaging the right people, allocating the resources. A lot of the times, You cannot align transformation with a strategy because you are doing it as an afterthought, because your resources are not available, and in the last minute you're trying to pull in resources. Again, not aligned. That is not alignment. So, and the
Yes.
main thing is, of course, the typical, you come up with action plans and you monitor and measure, and all of that is there. But the key thing is communicate, communicate, communicate. Whatever your alignment is, it has to be very, very important to communicate appropriately across all levels, so everyone understands the alignment. And it's not just at the leadership level, but everyone across the table, across the levels, understand the alignment, that how everything fits in with the strategy, everything that they're doing, everything that they're changing, their new paths and all of that.
Very well, Monica. And I like your word, the visualization, because the champions which are championing this transformation process, there has to be something on which they can see that yes, from here I will be able to go to there, and this will be what I will be getting out of this transformation. So that visualization is a must for motivating the team and taking along. Very well said. So let's go to the next question then. In my understanding, and when I see the different phases or different steps, rather you can say, of the transformation, strategy, design, then execution, monitoring, course corrections between the executions, and cultural integration, which you are talking about, then sustaining that change, particularly optimizing the change, and institutionalizing the change. So these are the basic steps which are there into the process from going A to B. During these changes, Nilima, what steps do you think is the most important as far as the leadership standpoint? That for the leadership, this particular step or phase of the transformation is much more important, which will drive the success.
So, Kailash, when we create these plans,
Yeah.
a, a lot of the times this planning happens under ceteris paribus conditions, right? We're only thinking about, okay, this is the transformation, and, these are the steps that we will take to get from A to B.
Yeah.
However, in reality, uh, it is never ceteris paribus. There are so many things happening because organizations are complex creatures. They work in a complex environment. I think keeping that in mind and integrating all of that into the transformation journey is actually the most important part, because otherwise, uh, the efforts are sometimes too diluted and distributed, and the journey which we assume to be linear is actually never linear, and we get disappointed in the process. But if we can integrate everything which is happening in the environment, or at least be aware of that, so we can be better prepared to deal with it, I think that is a big leadership imperative.
Yes. Good. Monica, any addition to this?
I completely agree with what Nilima said, that, these cannot be done in silos. They have to be integrated to really make transformation a success. And rightly so. And leadership has a key role to play in each of these things. But if I have to prioritize and say what is the topmost one, the most important one right on the top, I would say it's cultural integration, because organization culture is like the foundation, the base of the entire transformation process. And how can leaders really do that? How can they prioritize it? They can try to lead by example. They can do their bit in terms of fostering the positive environment of psychological safety, openness, and all of that. They can ensure alignment in terms of people, in terms of goals, in terms of what needs to be done. They can also be kind of the pioneers in terms of addressing cultural barriers, getting people to collaborate, getting people to come together, because eventually all of this is connected with every step of the transformation, and people drive transformation, not processes, not tools.
Yes. Yes. Correct, correct. So with this, my next question is also, as you're talking about the cultural integration. So the organization cannot change unless the people changes, and the most transformation efforts fail. And somewhere I read that 70% transformations fail because organizations overemphasize the tangible side of the change, and they underemphasize the emotional one that is connected to the people. So, how do you ensure that the people centric decision making is in the process of transformation? Monica, can you attend this?
Sure. I think people-centered decision making is very, very important because that is the only way you can enable that culture of trust, collaboration, openness, and all of that. How can we do that? By equipping our leaders with the right change management skills, ensuring that employees are getting involved in the transformation process and not just at a leadership or a mid-leadership level, but employees across different levels are getting involved. And then actively listening to employees' feedback in terms of experiences, in terms of concerns, in terms of what's going well, what's not going well, and ensuring that all these people have the right support and the resources that they need, because there will be a need for upskilling, there will be a need for adapting, there will be a need for developing that resilience to make possible that transformation. It's also very, very important to have an eye on employee satisfaction, well-being, engagement, all of that. So you also need to make time to celebrate little successes, little movements in the right direction. A lot of the times what happens is people are so focused on the big picture, they forget the importance of small steps, small improvements. So you need to ensure that that's happening so people are charged up, are continuing to get motivated. And then you also ensure that you're reflecting and adjusting your strategy, your execution steps as needed. Because only then the people will be able to embrace change and continue to contribute in a positive way to the success of the transformation. That's my point. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I believe Kailash, you need to unmute yourself. Okay, by the time Kailash comes and join us, like my submission to this will be, like when we talk about the organizational change, and if we need to take example of an organization change, probably the organizational change management is happen when those merger and acquisition happen to a company when two companies
Rajdeep, you
merge
are able to
together.
hear me now?
Yes, yes, very much.
Yeah, okay, okay. Sorry, there
So
was
just
there
I
was
think like to your
yeah. Go ahead.
thank you. So the merger and acquisition is a scenario where probably the change management happens, and we could easily reflect upon what is happening when people embrace these merger and acquisitions, and we could cite examples of, like, let's suppose Disney and Pixar. In the last decade, it was the most talked about merger acquisition, or let's suppose Air India and Tata Group, the disinvestment plan of government of India when the merger of Air India with the subsequent, Air Asia and then Tata Group's Vistara happened, probably at that time, all the stakeholders, like they, 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 they oppose the change because it was not that easy, like tomorrow you put, another batch and you will represent your philosophy or suppose the culture in. So this is the step where the communication, as mentioned by Monica, is paramount, but at the same time, the flexibility and democratization of the processes. Again, communication plays an important role over here. Is paramount.
Yeah, Rajdeep, am I able to hear? You are no, you are able to hear me?
Yes, yes.
Rajdeep, Brigadier Jayant is there in the audience. Can you take him in? Uh,
So
Brigadier, we'll love to hear from you if you can add some points onto this.
yeah, so he needs to raise his hand, then only I'll able.
Brigadier James, sir.
So Brigadier sir, like you as a participant, there is a tab is there. So you need to raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, I will be able to pull you in. So until and unless you raise your hand, I
Okay,
will not
okay,
be
okay.
able to.
So let's see. Let's see if he raise the hands, we'll put him in. Okay. So let's go ahead. And now my question is to Monica again. Monica,
Kailash,
how does?
Kailash, this is
Yeah,
Nilima. I
yeah.
want to add, a couple of points
Okay,
to
okay.
everything
Please,
that you said. Am I
please
audible?
go ahead. Yeah, you're
Okay.
audible. Yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So I mean, I think a lot got said. I just want to add, one people-centric point to the discussion. When we're doing an organizational change or a transformation, we're normally
Yeah.
talking about what will change, right?
Okay.
And change creates a bit of resistance in everyone. So,
Correct.
I think as we talk about the change and as we create that beautiful vision of future, if we also acknowledge what is going to remain the same, for example, our values of maybe whatever the organizational values can be, for example, people first, respect, collaboration, things like that. You know, uh,
Yeah.
they usually anchor us and help us navigate the change. So it's important to talk about what will remain the same and also acknowledge what some of us might lose. For example, some people
Correct.
might lose their expert status in the current scenario. And,
Correct.
once we acknowledge it, we help people process.
Uh,
Uh,
I don't know if it's just
I
me,
think,
but I can't hear Nilima anymore.
yeah, yeah. Nilima is not audible. I think we lost her. Nilima, you're not audible.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, yeah. Now
Yes,
it's okay. Now
yes.
it's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I was saying that I'm not sure till when I was audible. I was talking about, it's important to vocalize that
Yeah.
as we walk towards the future vision, the beautiful vision that we're talking about, or the remarkable vision that we're talking about, what is going to remain the same? And usually those are our values, and there can be other things. Uh, our values anchor us in the moment and they help us through change. So if we are able to tell people, hey, yes, we're going to change, and a lot is, you will have to do a lot of work, and a lot will not, this is the point B where we are walking towards. If we can also talk about, hey, this journey still means that our values of collaboration remain the same, our values of respect remain the same, our values of customer first remain the same. They anchor us, they anchor people and help them navigate the change. And if we can also acknowledge what some of the people might lose in the process. For example, if it is a technology change, some people might lose their expert status in today's scenario.
Correct.
And
Correct.
just vocalizing that, okay, this is something that will be different. This is what we will lose, helps us have a candid conversation about how we will help people through that change, how we will
Correct.
empower them to navigate the change. So, since the question was more about people-centric decision making, I just wanted to bring that on the table.
Yeah, Nilima, very well addition. And same way, how you see the situational humility and decentralized decision making helps the leaders, what you are talking about. to align this with this process? Nilima, will you be able to add on that only?
Sure. So, see, humility is the first step. I think it's probably one of the biggest leadership virtues that we need to lead at all. It helps us be curious, it helps us connect, it helps us acknowledge that we may not know everything, and it helps us to bring in the expertise from wherever it may be available. Helps us to keep our ears to the ground and observe how the ripples are being created and what is the impact that they are having. Similarly, what is the other word? The decentralized decision making that you spoke about.
Yeah.
I would say that, it is important that there is decentralization in decision making because then people feel they are involved in the process. However, I would also add that not every decision can be decentralized. So it's not a 0 and 1 game. It is there is a balance between what decisions are best taken by people who are close to the processes that are going to change, and what are the decisions where somebody needs to be able to stand back, maybe go to the balcony and have a higher view, a view from a higher plane about what needs to
Mhm.
shift to get from point A to point B. So,
Yeah, yeah.
there needs to be a balance between how it gets handled
Correct.
between the decentralized and centralized decision making.
Correct. So Monica, Nilima was talking about that there will be some people who will lose their suppose expertise in particular technology. So why be along with the process when I'm losing something? So by adding this point and this question of situational humility and decentralized decision making, when I say decentralized decision making, there will be a process when we are delegating this decision making to the person who is losing something and he is not able to speak out because of the safety, psychological safety or anything. So how to handle that particular situations, or how to allot the decentralized decision making? This is my question to Monica.
I think it's firstly very important to acknowledge that when you are making decisions, big complex decisions about very challenging situations and circumstances, it's always better to leverage collective intelligence than just to depend on one mind. That person may be an expert, but there's always scope for improvement and learning. So that's one thing that I think everyone needs to get comfortable with, especially leaders that and experts. They should get comfortable with acknowledging that they don't have all the answers. They should get comfortable with putting aside their ego and reaching out to asking inputs and reaching out to give feedback, reaching out to provide positive support. It's a two-way thing, right? The leaders need to make it comfortable for employees to do that, and employees need to be able to speak up so that they can actively engage. Anyone who's not doing that will eventually start becoming an obstacle, who's not supporting the overall transformation. So both sides, they have to work together to ensure that um, it's moving forward in a more collaborative, open forum, so that you get the best of everything. You can leverage collective intelligence. Yes, the leaders have a bigger role in enabling that, but the employees also have to step up. And again, I like what Nilima said about, when employees feel valued, when they feel they are being heard, it's very important, right? Because then they will feel more engaged. They will feel that they are being empowered with some level of decision making, maybe not everything, because there is some decentralization which has happened in terms of decision making. They have some level of empowerment in their hands, and that helps helps them to still feel very much aligned, very much respected, very much valuable in the process. So they will also feel comfortable when there is that give and take kind of scenario. And that enables collaboration, that enables innovation, that enables creativity, because then everyone can bring their best experiences, their strengths, and they can offset the things that the others don't know or the weaknesses that they have as a group. And it's very important because only then, with situational humility, that is possible, and with this digitalization of decision making, it is possible that these teams will become more flexible, more agile in responding, and that will help organizations, right? Because transformation is not a very straightforward process. It's not a linear process. There will be problems. There will be some unknown problems. There will be some very,
Oh,
very complex challenges.
yeah, go ahead.
And every transformation is different. So we have to enable that collective strength, which is enabling strengths, leveraging strengths, and to offset the weaknesses and the things that we don't know. Okay, I think Kailash
Yeah.
got
Yeah,
disconnected
that's
again. I would just like to add one more line while we are waiting. I
Yeah.
really like what there's this quote which Steve Jobs said, something about we hire smart people and we tell them what to do, and that's so wrong. Not only for organizational transformation and change management, but even general work, right? When we are hiring smart people, we need to let them tell us what is working best, and when we have our ears to the ground, that's what comes up.
Correct. Correct. So in the beginning, actually, Nilima said that the transformations are driven by the strategy, and in between discussion, Monica was referring that the transformations are always driven by the people. So there are two contradictory questions two contradictory point of views in this. So my question is between these two. So what is the competitive advantage for transformation? It is a strategy which is more important, and is culture of the company or the people which is more important. Rajdeep, can you take up this question?
yeah. Thanks, Kailash. So, like it's not that like you can choose either an or. Just to build upon on this fact, take example of again, like the I'll take the example cited by Monica about the Steve Jobs. The contrary to that, like everyone knows probably that 20% time policy that was there in Google, and because
Mhm.
of that 20% time, where they give 20% time of the full work, their employees to do some innovation on their own, taking lead and taking charge of the innovations without any intervention from the company. Product like we got a product like Gmail out of this, where the Gmail was developed at 20% time policy. So that is a strategy, no doubt about it. But no, that means the organization falter in those
Uh,
industries. Again, I'll take one more example from the tech industry. Even we all
Rajdeep,
know
Rajdeep,
the
Rajdeep, there's a lot of background, and we are not able to hear you clearly.
okay, okay. So in the meantime, anyone of the panelists can take. Let me fix my
Yeah,
audio.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Monica, can you take this question?
Sure. And I will just add to what Dr. Rasdeep said, because I also believe that it's not an either or question. You need
Correct.
strategy and you need culture. If you may have
Yes.
you may have a fantastic strategy, but without the right culture, it's going nowhere. You may have the best culture ever, but if you don't have the right strategy, you're going to go in the in the wrong direction. So unless you have the right strategy and you're working towards building the right culture, only then you will be able to move in the right direction, be it transformation, be it success, whatever it is. But you need to kind of marry the two together and work closely with both so that you can leverage the strengths which a positive culture brings to the table, and you are also leveraging the the strategy that your leaders are creating for your organization to achieve success down the line.
Yes.
Yes.
So taking
And
that example of the
yeah,
CAF industry,
yeah,
Kailash, so I was
yes,
talking about the IBM. So again, like we all know the personal computer, IBM brought personal computers, but at that time their CEO was not able to foresee that there is a need of five. His statement, famous statement is like that. I don't foresee that there is a need for five computers in this world. And like they are not into that business. But again, almost like 70, 80 years back, their CEO took a transformative decisions that we need to go from hardware to the service industry. And because of those transformational decisions, IBM is still there. But like Nokia was not able to get this kind of benefit out of the, although they also try to change. So better to have a strategy, but when you will not able to implement it with right implementation plan, so your plan and strategy will not be of any benefits to your organizations.
yeah,
So both of
correct.
these go hand in hand, and you should have a lot of flexibility because 21st centuries innovations are all about flexibility and adaptability. So you need to give
Correct.
uh,
Correct.
your staff.
Rajdeep,
Yeah, I'm pulling
you, you have to
Neelam.
pull in Nilima. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's it from my end.
Okay, okay. Nilma, what is your point? Which is a competitive advantage for any company? It is strategy which is more important, or is culture which is more important?
So, you see, strategy is the whether it is strategy is a way to move towards, uh, the direction or the goal that you want to go to, and culture is the enabler. And I think Monica said it beautifully. Without the right culture, there is no movement. Any organization would struggle to make those right strides in the change that they're trying to begin. But so there is no, you can't choose one. You need both. Um, so earlier you quoted my point, and I would just kind of add that when we embark on a change, the change is driven by a business need. A change is not for the sake of change. It is because the business needs to change. Maybe the culture needs to change. Maybe the processes and policies need to change. But there is always that business requirement to change. And culture is, it's kind of the ecosystem in which the change happens.
Yeah, correct.
And both need to work in tandem for the change to take place.
Correct. So the competitive advantage is a balance, and you can say the customization as per the need of the transformation, or as the need of the company culture and its people. Right? Am I am I
Yep,
getting right?
yep. Right. So one is an ecosystem, one is direction. Nothing happens
Correct.
in vacuum.
And yes, it's not a vacuum. Correct. So every organization inherently has its own culture. Now, when striking a balance between maintaining their core values and embracing the change is crucial, because there will be a culture of any of the organization, and then we are changing it too. So there will be inherently some opposition which Neelima was talking about. So how the organization navigate this delicate equilibrium during the period of transformation, because they have to have some core values, at the same time they have to embrace the new changes. So Monica, can you take this question?
Sure. I think it might seem like it's a long response to it, but that's the heads up I would like to give. I believe it's not a very short and sweet process. There's a logic behind it, or how you maintain this equilibrium. And it starts all with the core values, right? Have a clear understanding of the core values and ensure that everyone is
Correct.
clear about it, because this will serve as the guiding principle throughout, and that cannot change. Then align your transformation with these core values. It should not be moving in the opposite direction. They should be very much aligned. And then communicate continuously, right? Because only then people will understand the rationale behind the changes, how what they're doing is a part of the bigger picture of organization, mission and principles, and how all the work they're doing is all a part of the big picture. Then you also need to ensure that you're involving employees and consultants wherever they need, to ensure that everybody's perspectives and insights are being taken into consideration. Leaders, again, will have to lead by example in making all this happen. There's one more piece that is very important, is to identify the right change agents, empower them so that they can help as your role models at the working level, championing the cause, championing the change, and people feel comfortable to have those peer networks to help them make these changes as they need. There's also the need to have that stability, balancing stability and innovation, because again, that's going to be another balancing act that needs to be taken care of. And monitoring the progress, gathering feedback, all of that will anyway come, so that you do that necessary inspect and adapt to ensure throughout the process that you are still very much aligned to the organization values and the desired culture. So I believe those will be the few things that will need to be taken into consideration to maintain that balance.
Yeah. Nilima, what is your point of view on this question?
I don't think I have anything to add to what Monica said. I think she gave a very comprehensive response.
Okay. Rajdeep, you want to add anything?
Yes, yeah, I also echo the sentiment of Nilima, but just to add one example for your audience, core value is like the paramount. Just take example of Apple, 3 trillion, is the value. Probably many of the nation on earth don't have their GDP this much, and the core value of Apple is innovation. Whereas the market demand, see, like they never compromise that core value of innovation in any of their product line. But you could see like there is a huge demand for Apple products. They could also, address those, instead of, innovations, they could have invested on making mass market product, or, like the changing need of, we all know like all these Chinese companies are, having their business on, low cost product. But, Apple never compromised on that, because in the last 30 years of technology, a lot of changes are there, but Apple never distracted from their core value of innovations. So you need to
Correct.
have
So,
a proper strategy for your change management, but you need to also stick to your core value. Then only you will
you have
able
to
to
build
achieve
upon the
what
core
you
value.
are set out for. Then only you will able to achieve, what you are set out for. Once it is compromised because of the changing demand in the market, or demand from the customer, or any regulatory compliance, like many uncertainties come. And the same holds good for even startup business also. You need to set out only those
Right.
startups are able to make mark for themselves, where they stick to their core values. Otherwise, everywhere
Correct. Correct.
uncertainty is there.
Yeah. Yeah. So, my last question, I think we are having around 5 6 minutes more. My last question is about the transformation speed, because this is the agile world. So now, where do you stand on the speed side of it? That it is more of a agile in nature. It's more of a taking people along, taking their own time. So, Monica, add on the speed side.
I think the speed you cannot say it should be fast, it should be slow, because it will be very, very context specific. But, and it is what it is. So you have to be agile about it. There will be some long-term wins that you will get, but it's very important to identify those low-hanging fruits, those quick wins, so that people
Yeah.
can see improvements and they can see that what they're doing in the short term is also, even if it's small gains, right, it's also still showing some positive improvement. And that will keep them engaged and motivated to continue to work towards the long term.
Yeah. Nilima, your point of view on this?
So, yeah, like Monica said, the speed is very, very context specific. Uh, so that we continue to show progress.
Yes.
I would say this is not a choice, because the speed is determined by the scale of the transformation that is being
Uh, yeah, I'm doing. So, but don't have the command and control model. If you have it, try to get rid of it. Gone are the days. To have something and command and control and then boil down to the next. It is very difficult. In 21st century with all the innovations and the way things communicate, way the communication channels are in operational. It is very difficult. So you adapt all the changes that you have, all the tools and technologies at your yardstick. You go ahead with that, but try to get rid of. It is not possible, I know. This is somewhere the structures are in place, so things could go this way. But try to avoid as much as possible.
Yeah.
Yes, Brigadier Jayant is in.
Brigadier,
Yeah.
welcome to the session, and this is our pleasure we are in. So,
So,
please enlighten us on
yeah.
the organizational transformation.
Yeah. Good evening to every one of you. And my apologies. I was actually on the road. That's why I couldn't
Oh, yeah.
take your call. Okay, I go for a little walk, but it was such a wonderful topic. When I just glanced through my notifications, I couldn't resist to listen to your conversations. So it is always great learning. It has been. I do not want to sum up. Of course, it is not that I am with my own little experience of being in army. It was a wonderful, conversation and interactive session, and people have, I think, whatever they have given, I could see through from my experience being in the combat zone and taking decisions at the strategic level. Whether it was a people, because army is a very people centric organization, it has a very severe decision making issues also, and to the issue, to the level of creating propaganda, psychological warfare, and electronic warfare, and those kind of things are there. But one thing is very important. The last part was the speed and the decision making. You see, this is certainly one thing is very important, which is, I think, relevant to every one of us, whether to start with our own personal body to the organizations, whether it is military or anyone. And that is the value system, or the how we develop our culture. And that is certainly an offshoot of what I am wanting to desire from there. Now, the culture of like I can take an example of like being in army. The culture takes certainly very important role. We all align our value systems with the value of that culture or the organization, value of the strategies which are being formulated. And I do not need to say as to what is the value for which entire army organization or defense organization or such organizations work for, or any security organization in a corporate sector work for, or what I work for my own, creating my body as an organization itself. So it is that culture which is certainly absolutely important. Decision making at all levels are important. We need to, the change actually gets manifested at the lowest level possible. If my sepoy does not act, the change will never take place. So point is what I'm wanting to bring out. Of course, this is more of a theoretical talk in encompassing all issues. When we go into specifics, probably things will get clearer. But the change certainly starts at the last mile connectivity level. It actually takes place, and that's where the lowest level of leaders or the youngsters who are actually creating an effect in their own small domains, they need to be taken. In army, there used to be a saying, one of our certain senior officers used to say that we need to be in sync 3 up and look down 2 down. Okay. So 3 up in the sense that I must know the 3 up my boss's design his mind, so that when I'm in a battle, I should be able to maneuver myself in that way. And 2 down in the sense that I should be always in touch, because they are the people who are going to actually create that effect. Whether he is a soldier in the patrolling, I'm talking on a very small level, whether he is in an ambush, whether he is a tank man, they are very, in that hierarchy, they might be a very small people, but on the ground, they are the people who are creating an effect or the change. And when the change takes place for the success, it creates a beautiful culture also. It manifests the culture. And as far as the context or the speed is concerned, I wanted to put across a simple example is like Kargil war. We all have gone through, and we keep, we are fascinated of talking about that. You see, we all got trained in the same manner, but there are situations when we have to take quick decisions. Okay, there's no questions to be asked whether this or that or this is lacking or no lacking. The mission was only to do that, and that is where that value alignment and that stringent strategic decisions are very important. And that is where the speed of action is. We have something like one of the very principles of our speed of action, maintenance of initiative. Once we have taken it, we have to do it. But how does it take place? Does entire organization move along? Yes, it moves along. And why is it that the army moves along? And why are we debating here? Maybe, pardon me for saying this, in the civil domain or the corporate domain, it is only because culturally and the value system, we get very much aligned towards one cause. That's a small difference. And I'm not saying because that requirement of the job is like that, we get aligned and trained in the manner that we take quick decisions. And we are very adept. We know that even if I plan and do for 1 million examples in my daily life, when I go on the actuals, it will be one different. It will never be the same what I have actually practiced or talked. It will be something different. And that is what the change actually we always remain prepared for. So what happens? So how does it take place and how we can implement it onto the people who are not directly there? It is only, I think, the leadership must exist at all levels. We all have to show ourselves. We have to show ourselves. Not that, if I'm the managing director, yes, sometimes you can meet around and move around and just tap on the shoulders and go, hey, how are you? And converse with people. Because that's what it is. People must know as to, you see, a simple example is in all the government offices, what do you see behind the chair? Of course, the person who is sitting on the chair, he does not see that, but you will find the president's photograph, maybe Mahatma Gandhi's photograph, maybe Prime Minister's photograph or something like that. What do they define? Actually, they define something. Okay. Tables have placed something like that. So that's where the leaders must exist at all levels. All the levels, at least I have always educated that people must take decisions at all levels. Yeah, and one should not, even the fault is happens only when you are taking a course for a change. So that's what, and the fault is not in nothing. I never use a word fault or a mistake. It is just a process. I'm wanting to change for something like that. In this process, this has not worked. So I must, if I've, 1,000 times I have not worked, it's a great learning for me that these all have not worked and this is going to work. So that is where the core values remains. So anyway, it was a wonderful session. My apologies, I joined much later. I think the time was getting up because I was on the road. So thanks a lot. Yeah, yeah.
We'll discuss another day, no issue, sir. And
Yeah.
my big salutes to you, sir. You add lot of value to our discussion.
No, my pleasure.
So Rajdeep,
Thank
you
you.
can now conclude. Rajdeep, are you
Yes,
there?
Kailash. Yes. Uh, yeah. Big thanks to everyone, to our esteemed participant, so as our esteemed panelist, for this is we already completed and wonderful. We call it an jubilant January, and we started our fabulous February with this wonderful discussion on change management. Uh, Thank you everyone for your continuous supports to this endeavor. And today we are blessed, Brigadier Jayant also joined and shared his values insights on these wonderful topics. And probably sometime in near future, we'd love to have you as our esteemed panelist. We'll try to figure out our mutual synergy on the topic, and definitely Kailash will help us in hosting that event. So thank you everyone.
Sure, sure. Thanks, sir. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, Nilima.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.